Alrighty then, it's time for my spirit animal, Jungle Gragas. First one. And I mean spirit animal because, he's fat. Yay. Honestly, though, I've lost a lot of weight since then. But still, he's still one of my most aesthetically pleasing champions. I love him so much, and I do really mean that. Like, right now, League has gotten so edgy and so, like, anime, weird waifu, desu, kawaii, whatever. And I really don't like that. Old school League of Legends was a little bit over the top and goofy and character, very cartoonish. And Gragas, look at his lore, look at his everything. He's just a magic fat drunk man. That's it. Magic drunk man who's also extremely fat. That's it. There's nothing elaborate to it. His backstory is just he was a weird criminal because he would just get drunk and flee and stuff. And that was it. I don't need anything more. He was just funny to look at and imagine. So I love that about Gragas. And I also love the fact that he's probably one of the best junglers in the game, in the history of the entire game, in fact, pre-rework and in his current form too. It's just currently right now, he would probably sit at around tier 2, mid-tier 2 in fact. By the way, I love the amount of contribution I had in that counter gang. Pure artwork, right? I did so much. Anyways, I would put him at around tier 2 probably. Because even though he's extremely strong still technically and he's definitely used competitively and all that other stuff, right now what's the most valuable in junglers just happens to be what he's weakest at. Keep in mind I'm saying weakest doesn't mean that he's completely, unsalvageable from that. If you were to rank everything a jungler needs in a line, like, ganking power, sustainability, and all these other little caveats, he would mostly be Bs, B pluses, and then all his stronger traits would be A's and S. He's definitely has one of the few champions who have a lot of S's on his scoreboard essentially. But the thing is, the things he's weakest at are the ones that are quite important right now, like dueling, your roaming potential, and your early sustain. Which, if you've seen, his sustain early on is better than a lot more most junglers, but is still actually pretty dauntingly weak. He's pretty squishy early on in the game. But that's pretty important right now because a lot of junglers like Graves just hunt him down and destroy him. So, and he can't really duel all that much early on because his mana is pretty restrictive and whatnot. So yeah, but still though, I will say in most metas, probably the meta changes around, he'll come back to being essentially a god. And then Riot will decide to break his legs a little bit further, undo any of the buffs they actually gave him, that kind of thing. But Gragas just has the kit of a winner, the kit of a god. I also got to mention something about gods. Kled, I rarely ever see him, but whenever I do, he just seems to dominate. Enough that I actually really want to learn him and play him in top lane. Except this season, I just kind of didn't give top lane any chance whatsoever. Anyways, right now, currently, Jungle Gragas has, I think, like 2.5. I'll explain that half. Viable builds. I'm taking one of them, which is the explosive bursty one, where you take runic echoes and electrocute, and then you build whatever to make your initiation stronger, like a Iceborne Gauntlet, then Dead Man's Plate, or Righteous Glory. And just kind of like nuke somebody down and then use your ultimate to initiate, and hopefully you survive to just start bouncing around. It's not exactly AP, but having that early AP burst with the Runic Echoes allows you to do quite a bit of damage. The other one is the obvious tank one, Aftershock, Cinderhulk, just be a fatty fat, and that's it. Then the other one is your sort of, aura carrier thing going with you. Righteous Glory, maybe even Shirley's Reverie, forgot what one, that one's Knight's Vow. Essentially that, you just become a aura tank, which all of them are pretty viable, but the one that's half C's just kind of depends on the overall comp you have. And you can see right now this game is going heavily in our favor, mostly because of our slew of our front line is so viciously powerful, and our ability to initiate is so damn sexy. And then Alistair's suicides, but whatever. The enemy team composition, on the other hand, has some extreme flaws. Aside from the suicidal Ezreal, their Skarner and Jax are like their initiation. Leona, has to get a good ultimate to initiate, but my teammates will likely be, really behind the back line, or will be slamming into them so hard they can't react properly, put themselves in a position to counter initiate well. So essentially, their team comp is extremely flawed against mine, we're gonna bounce around for like here is Skarner initiates, and what's gonna happen? He doesn't obviously have enough damage. I'm probably the worst person for him to initiate on, but who else would he actually do it? Well, technically Alistair's the worst one, but who else could he do that on? Like if he charged at us, then Vel'Koz would probably melt him, and then Draven will kill everybody else. Essentially, the enemy's weakest link, or at least what's causing them the biggest issue, is probably the Ezreal. They needed some other kind of crowd control champion or a mage that could successfully melt the front line. I mean, theoretically, they could just do what he did right there, where just they sort of melt the Ezreal sort of melts the Draven, but the chance of that constantly happening are pretty low. In this fight here, since we lost the Draven and we're in a really weird position, we fight in a really awkward spot, and even then you can see that we kind of chunked them down a lot. So if we even just had the Draven at the very beginning, they would have all pretty much melted. And again, the fight just doesn't go our favor here, but you can see the amount of damage my team was able to do before getting dropped completely. I think we killed 2 people and 1 person responded and eventually made it back. But yeah, it's sort of I want to use this as an example of, I'm not assuming that the enemy team is bad, by the way. I don't want to assume that they're bad. I'm just saying that because of how the way their comp is built and the way that Ezreal cannot assist his jungler unless he's completely dominating the lane, or the fact that the Ezreal is kind of extremely suicidal, it's just going to lead them to pretty much lose every team fight. Even the ones they seem to have a little bit of an edge on, they're not going to come out of them cleanly enough to be able to muster up some kind of advantage out of that. We killed 3 of them, and the Skarner is able to bury me, but as a result he dies too. And this is kind of what I mean. There's a word for it, or a phrase for it, like an older one. It's called Pyrrhic victory. Every win they'll get is going to cost them so much that they're not going to be able to take advantage of it, to the point that eventually my team is just going to get so strong, even if we were playing poorly, we'll probably just win as a result of how much money we're going to smack them in the face with. The team's best hope, well, aside from us kind of messing around and getting Herald Smite stolen, is killing one of the frontliners before the fight starts. Hopefully, their best bet is probably killing me, and then having one of them snipe the Draven, and then the rest of them should fall. But that's kind of a tall order. I mean, Skarner has a good chance of grabbing me and hopefully the enemy team nuking me, but that's going to cost them a lot of resources, which is why they're going to need to do it when I'm by my lonesome. Like, look, here the Leona engages on me, and they do chunk me quite down a lot, but look at how many resources it cost them. And as a result of that, the Ezreal is just easily destroyed. Leona has no real crowd control to control the Draven, and they just get dropped. I mean, if in a full team fight that happened, then, obviously the rest of my team would just collapse on them and destroy them. I'm just sort of keeping this in mind. It's one of those cases where I like using these examples as, aside from the obvious misplays by the Ezreal, that sometimes a team comp really does matter, even in divisions, or like or lower divisions, when people just say play whatever you want. But, so don't just completely disregard them. I've had videos or in streams where I just say, I'm thinking about the team comp I have or my opponent's comp they have, and people just say play whatever you want. But I've had instances when I do that and the enemy team counters that, or my team isn't prepared to deal with a certain situation, something like a split pusher, or like Evelyn, who could just pop in and kill somebody, stealthy champions, or like Lee Sin, who's just super chaotically, popping up everywhere and causing a harassment, and we had nobody that can deal with that, and we just kind of lose. Like, good examples are like when I pick someone like Jarvan, and they have champions who play defensively, and they have a Lee Sin. And for those who are not too aware, Lee Sin is one of my most hated matchups as Jarvan, just because he can, no matter what I try to do to escape, he has a lot of tools to make sure he gets on top of me, and he could ruin my initiations and all that good stuff. And as a result, I just kind of fall apart in those games. And I fall behind, and I might as well have played someone more tanky who wouldn't need as much gold as Jarvan, or I could have played someone more supportive, so on and so forth. Or we play against a team comp that is extremely defensive, and we have no actual initiation, which makes that situation even worse, so they just sort of stall forever. So, I know people like to disregard champion select, but you can see in an example where the enemy teams is just kind of really haphazard against mine, and we're just sort of, aside from when we make some stupid mistakes like that, sticking around too long, they just kind of ought to lose. And like I say, I don't want to assume automatically that the enemy team was bad, but their comp certainly didn't help any impression for them. Anyways, here's what I mean. Like, if I die early on, then they get a good advantage. Like, I tried chunking down the Lucian to a near death, and I almost did, but Leona was there to save him, and it cost her quite a bit to even control me. And as a result, I die for near free, but it cost them, three actually of their lives. Because they honestly just can't engage on the rest of my team, because even if I die, the Alistair will do something, or, like Kled will, bust a nut and run around and kill somebody important. Essentially put, like, unless they have some extremely gross lane advantage, which we just completely nullify because we rush through the early phase into the mid phase, then yeah, they stand kind of no chance. All you can see by the shenanigans of us not actually trying to finish this game, it's taking way longer. We could have ended this, 5 minutes ago. But anyways, this is something that you guys might hate me for coming soon. But honestly, I was not really paying too much attention. So Kled gets a kill on the Jax. Me and the Vel'Koz absolutely destroy the rest of the team alongside Kled, obviously, and set him up for a triple kill. And then the Ezreal's right there, I don't know, thinking that he'll survive on the ultimate charge of Kled, and he gets destroyed. Yeah, I'm sorry for this, but, I go in, body slam, do all my full little combo against this guy, and I didn't stop the last auto attack, and I take the pentakill. Though, honestly, I don't know if it would have still been a pentakill because of the time that elapsed, but still, shame on me. But still, we obviously won this because the enemy team stands no chance. They're just completely losing that, even to a trio rather than the full team. So, alas. They tried with their last hurrah. I guess you can give them credit for that, except the Ezreal, who apparently was extremely angry and volatile to them, even though he was causing a lot of problems. And I'm desperately trying to end this thing because I just want to start the next game rather than stick around, but, it's solo queue, so nobody actually gets to do that. Still, though, Ezreal gets chunked down. I ignore the remaining survivors, and I just use my wine bottle to smash the next to pieces. So hooray! I'm sorry for the stolen pentakill. Forgive me, your majesty. Anyways, hooray! And if you liked this video, remember to give it a like. And if you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And if you are subscribed, make sure to hit the little bell up there somewhere so you actually get notifications to my videos, because YouTube and stuff.